2025 NFL Draft Takeaways. Shocking intel on Shedeur Sanders. First-round skepticism and more. The NFL Draft always finds a way to be quarterback dominant, even when the quarterback group isn't very strong. Because of Shedeur Sanders' fall, football fans received 3 consecutive days of Shedeur debate. Friday night, I went to coach my son's youth football team, and that was all anybody wanted to talk to me about, that Sanders still hadn't been selected. It wouldn't be until Saturday afternoon that Sanders would get drafted 144 to the Cleveland Browns in the 5th round. If he had been drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round, you could make a strong case that the Colorado star didn't really fall, but rather was picked where NFL evaluators thought he merited to go, rather than where the draft analysts expected. Shedeur has some leaks in his throwing motion, an NFL offensive coordinator told me a few weeks ago. But I do like the kid. I think he's smart. He's tough. I hate the system he played in. He got sacked 94 times in the last 2 years. I get it. He had a terrible O-line, but I don't. Get the ball out. At some point, you have to give him outlets and some built-in hots, ways where he can get the ball out and give a fighting chance to sustain drives. He doesn't have an exceptional arm or running ability. He's streaky. A second NFL OC didn't see any elite traits in Sanders. He's really developmental. He's a good QB. He's tough as hell. He's not overly mobile. But for Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders and a player whose college just announced, to much local uproar, that his Colorado jersey was being retired, getting picked at 144 definitely counts as a fall, or frankly, a plummet. Being a developmental quarterback and going to a spot with an established starter, like the LA Rams or Seattle Seahawks, would have been an interesting dynamic. So much of being an NFL backup quarterback is how comfortable the starter is with the other 2 QBs in the room. Sanders has always been the starting QB and the star wherever he's been, at Jackson State and then Colorado. I suspect his fit played a role in why so many teams opted not to pick him earlier. The Cleveland Browns took another QB, Oregon's Dillon Gabriel, 2 rounds earlier, and that is against whom Sanders has to compete, along with 40-year-old Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. He's got a skill set, but no dominant trait. He's a backup at this point, and those guys have to be wired for humble support of the starter, added an NFL coach. It didn't help Sanders' stock that he didn't compete in the Senior Bowl or at the NFL Scouting Combine. If you're not a first-round lock or injured, that's going to create some pause. A former NFL quarterbacks coach I spoke with Sunday morning said it was not surprising that Sanders waited as long as he did in the draft. The intel I got was shocking. This guy has no awareness about how he's coming across, or the type of leverage he has or doesn't have, said the coach. But now the draft process is over. It's on Sanders to prove a lot of people wrong, and he did that plenty in the last 2 years in Boulder. The Cardinals selecting Ole Miss DT Walter Nolen. He had 14 TFLs last season after transferring from Texas A&M. No one questions Nolen's talent. He's twitched up and his change of direction is off the charts, an NFL DL coach told me. That makes him special. He's just got to make sure he studies the game. He can't go out there and put his hand in the ground. Think he's gonna beat everybody in the NFL. Another NFL coach who loved Nolen's ability said, I worry a little about his attitude, but everybody was worried about Jalen Carter. Then you put him on the Eagles, and everybody forgets about that. A national scout called Nolen a top 15 talent, but said there are some concerns about his maturity and focus. You have to plan for him, he said. I think he has to be in the right place and in a D-line room with some strong veterans. Well, that's exactly the situation Nolen ended up in. He'll have 38-year-old Calais Campbell, a former Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, and another well-respected vet, Dalvin Tomlinson, among others, around him. If any setting can enable Nolen to blossom, it's this one. The Giants trading back into the 1st round for Ole Miss QB Jackson Dart. You have a head coach on the hot seat with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston there to play this year. Maybe Dart gets some action this year, but aren't there bigger needs for this franchise? If things continue to go south with the Giants, and they end up looking for a new GM and new head coach in a year, where does that leave Dart? There's also a decent chance there will be better options for a franchise QB in 2026. I like Dart, but I felt like he was more of a second or third rounder, a developmental player you want to take a chance on. He runs well, has a pretty strong arm, and is very tough. Here's why I'm skeptical. He played a lot of football in college. He had a very talented team around him last year. All they needed to do was beat a 5-5 Florida team and a really bad Mississippi State team, and the Rebels make the college football playoff. But Dart and the Rebels really struggled against Florida. He went 8 of 18 with 2 INTs and 3 sacks in the second half, when Ole Miss scored just 3 points. In the Rebels' 3 losses in 2024, all against teams that finished unranked, he led them to 1 total touchdown in the second half of those 3 games. That stuck out to me.